This is the silver 1 month overview reading for September 2022. It's currently August 22nd, 2022, 8:02 p.m. That's Eastern Time. And the overall theme and behavior for the month of September is a breakdown to and through a support level to meet a second support level. And then we rotate sideways along that support. However, it is crossed with some surprise, like unexpected moves to the upside. Behavior around the month's high will have a notable move into the month's high, and it looks like that's pretty bullish for the next month. The month's high here is related to, or it involves the beginning of a rally. Behavior around the low, there'll be multiple headwinds that push the price lower. A lot of headlines of kind of like coming together over the same period of time. It looks like that low is probably around the 25th or the 26th. Okay, so on the first we're bound by a range. It looks like the upper end of a range on the first. On the second, we have a correlation to a surprise move higher. There's also an important technical price level highlighted. That's on a multi-day chart, on a monthly chart, or on a year-to-date chart possibly. But at least on a monthly chart, there's an important price level that's highlighted. And then there's also one local high and one trade opportunity. And by local high, I mean on a one-day chart for silver, you'll see one prominent high that stands out. It'll be in the midst of negative headwinds. You'd expect the price to go lower, but it still moves higher. And the swing trade that we have on the second, it involves, well, my voice. It involves a failed attempt to break through a key resistance level, followed by a decline through support. And the likes to trade around that. There's a prominent reversal on the third. It'll stand out on a multi-day chart. On the fourth, we have one local low. So on a one-day chart of the fourth for silver, we'll see one prominent low that forms. I'm also advised to be cautious here, not to place any. I likely wouldn't place any trades here. It looks like we have the cessation of a trend near a high at the end of the day on the fourth. And the local low is within close proximity to or actually there's a rally out of a local low. That rally offers an opportunity to open up a short position. On the 25th, it looks like we have one local high in the midst of negative headwinds move higher. But then there's also a prominent, a correlation to a surprise move higher or an unexpected move to the upside. There's two trades involved here, so the closing of a swing trade and the opening of a swing trade, or possibly a day trade. And one of those trades involves a failed attempt to break through key resistance, followed by a decline through key support. And then the other trade involves the end of a decline on a one-day chart. Both trades we're talking about on a one-day chart involves a decline that ends with a fast sudden move to the upside. On the 6th, it looks like we may have another high here on the 6th. We have a decline, like it's a quick high. We don't see, it's a brief opportunity, and there's not a lot of time before it's gone, before we break down through multiple price levels. However, there's one swing trade opportunity involved in the 6th. On a one-day chart, it's the end of a decline, marked by a fast sudden move to the upside. On the 7th, we revisit past problems, declining. There's a flight to safety, one local low. Out of that local low, there's a rally higher, marking opportunity to open up a short position. On the 8th, we have one local high, one local low. On a one-day chart, you'll see one prominent high and one prominent low. The prominent high, there'll be a holding pattern of some sort there, likely having to do with Congress or something like that. And there's also a correlation to a decline through a support level to meet a secondary support level. This is on a multi-day chart. And then we move sideways along that support. But the overall trend, there's like a move off of that support There's a move off of that support out of the low, and we successfully turn resistance into new support. So it looks like we declined from the 7th into the 8th, and then we move higher out of that decline. On the 9th, there's a swing trade opportunity. It looks like to open a trade, most likely to open a swing trade. And there's one prominent high, one prominent low that stand out on a one-day chart for the 9th. In the midst of some rotation along a support level that increases with bullish momentum as we move forward throughout the day. The one local high involves a holding pattern and may involve Congress as well. There's also a correlation here to a drop again to and through a support level to meet a secondary support level and then rotate sideways along that support. That's on a multi-day chart. On the 10th, we have a crest. It looks like we have a prominent crest that forms here, possibly a month's high here, but it looks like a prominent crest on the 10th. We meet resistance, or we rally into resistance, and we break down from that rally with with consecutively lower spikes up on the way down, and those spikes meet moving averages in bearish formation as their resistance. We have a big move, it looks like overnight between the 10th and the 11th, or early in the morning on the 11th. Two prominent lows that stand out on a one-day chart of the 11th. There's a U-shaped dip throughout the day near two perpendicular diagonal trend lines. There's a there's a rally out of one of the local lows that marks an opportunity to open up a short position, and the other local low involves a move higher through resistance. We stay above it briefly, and then we break back down through that same price level. On the 12th, looks like we have another prominent crest here. There's a sideways S formation throughout the day, and one local high, and two local lows, and it looks like midday there's a high there. On the 13th, another prominent high. This is most likely the month's high here, or the same high as the 10th. We have a rally to meet the month's high and crest. It looks like a lot of movement towards the end of the day, especially on the 14th. There's a decline that increases with the momentum after a move higher through. So there's a decline that increases with the momentum moving into the low, and then there's a prominent move higher on a multi-day chart on the 15th, out of one prominent low on the 15th on a one-day chart, and that also marks an opportunity to open up a short position. There's a lot of that going on here. But it looks like that 13th is likely the high. On the 16th, we have a crest. Not necessarily a crest, but there's an important high. The local high on the 16th is important for some reason. It may mark a good trade. There's sideways rotation along a support level with on the 16th this is the overall theme on the 16th with equal amounts of bulls and bears, equal amounts of inflow and outflow. There's a fake out near the low, and there's a move higher off of a support level to reach the nearest resistance, and then a move back down to that support level. That's how we form the high, which appears to be midday. On the 17th, two prominent lows that'll stand out in the midst of some sideways fluctuations with a bullish trend for the day. One of those local lows involves a move higher through resistance. We stay above it briefly, and we break back down through that same price level shortly thereafter. And then the other local low involves a rally out of it that marks an opportunity to open up a short position. On the 18th, it looks like, I think that sideways fluctuation, the Chariot card tends to be a little bit prolonged. So there's a good chance that sideways fluctuation continues into the 18th. And we have a minor crest here on the 18th at the end of the day in the midst of some sideways three crisscrosses back and forth through the same price level, confirming a bullish trend, at least temporarily. On the 19th, there's a prominent move on a multi-day chart to the upside. followed by a move back down, like a full retracement either on the 19th or on the 20th. There's a good trade opportunity on the 20th in the midst of a decline. That'll stand out on a multi-day chart. Advised to trade on the 20th near a important price level, an important resistance level that volume and volatility kind of peter out around that resistance level, and near the local high on the 21st. So the one prominent high on the 21st near that resistance level, there's the halting of a bullish trend. Excuse me. There's a notable move into that resistance level, out of oversold territory, or to fill a previous gap down. But the overall theme for the 20th, so that notable move up is on a one-day chart, but the overall theme on a multi-day chart for the 20th is a move to the downside that'll stand out on a multi-day chart. On the 21st, we have the Empress card, also tends to be prolonged a bit. It's sideways fluctuations, kind of like the reverse of the Chariot card. It's sideways fluctuations with a bearish trend that precedes a rally, and it looks like two local highs that'll stand out on that one-day chart of the 21st in the midst of that sideways fluctuation. One will involve a holding pattern and or Congress's a decision by Congress of some sort. The other one will involve a move up out of a overbought territory, out of oversold territory, or to fill a previous gap down. And that'll take us to the second local high on the 21st. There is a good cash out opportunity on a one-day chart near the local low there on the 21st, and then on the 22nd there's a decline that marks an opportunity to open up a bullish position. There's a trade around a price level where volume kind of peters out. On the 23rd, we have a swing trade opportunity involved, and it's highlighted by a male ruler of nations. There's a completion of a bullish trend here on the 23rd. On the 24th, we have a move higher through resistance. We stay above it briefly, and we break back down through the same price level. Shortly thereafter, on the 25th, we have multiple failed attempts to break through key resistance, and it appears to be a correlation to a month's low here. This is very likely the month's low, the 25th and the 26th. On the 26th, we break down through multiple support levels, we create new resistance. We break down creating multiple new resistance on the way down to reach a month's low. On the 27th, there's a big move, either a gap up overnight between the 26th and the 27th, and then we decline from that gap up. There's a hard decline on a multi-day chart on the 27th, or we that's what we do there. Okay, and then on the 28th, we have a rally along a diagonal trend line. We break through horizontal resistance. We meet a secondary resistance of some kind, and then we have a dip back down between those two price levels. On the 29th, there's the halting of a bullish trend marked by a sudden breakdown through a key support level. And then on the 30th, it looks like we have another prominent crest or a new high after those lows. Those month lows of the 25th and the 26th. It looks like there's a big move to the upside, a big move marking the end of a decline on the 30th. There's a big move to the upside to a prominent crest or a month's high. It looks like the move is to a distant resistance level. And then the sneak preview for the following month, for October, is out of a decline. There's a notable move to the upside, marking the all the way from the bottom of a range to the top of a range, and that's on a multi-day chart. That's silver, guys. Now check it out. When we're looking at the 1 month overview, so when we look at the cluster for August, we have sideways fluctuations with equal bulls and bears early in the month, and then near the high we have three crisscrosses through the same price level, temporarily confirming a bullish trend. But then towards the end of the month, we break down through that price level, or through that rally that diagonal trend line we're rallying along. Break down through that after a fast sudden move to the upside. We break down through that with increasing volatility as we move down into the end of the month, and that's really on the ball there, guys. Like, if you look at the 1 year, that's pretty much what we would have said. We have sideways fluidity early in the month. This is the start of August. Sideways fluidity early in the month. Crisscrosses through the same price level, up, down, up, and then a fast sudden move to the upside, marking the end of a bullish trend, right, along a diagonal trend line, which we have right here. And then after that fast sudden move to the upside, marking the end of the bullish trend, we break down through that diagonal trend line with increasing volatility. There you go. It's all right there, guys. So what we should see is at the end of this month of August, there should be a low that forms either at the end of the month of August or more likely very, very, very early in the month of September, and then we push higher out of that low. And it looks like there's a good opportunity in there. We have a high either at the end of the month, but more likely based on what we saw for the 1 month overview. There's a high, a year's high coming up in early October possibly, and then another one possibly in November, and then another one in December. So things are going to start looking better for silver. That's the overview for silver for September 2022 with a little bit of a review, how we did. Let me know what you think by hitting that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And thanks for watching. Most importantly, remember that rule of karma. When you make that money from this reading, you want to take a little bit of that, set it aside, cut it in half what you set aside, send some of that to somebody who needs it that isn't expecting it. Pay it forward and keep the flow going. Take the other half of that bit that you set aside and pay it back to us at Approveb's Cash App. Help the team out, show some gratitude to the universe and to us for all the hard work we do. And then the 90% you got left over, do what you got to do. Just make sure it's out of love, my friends. Be a spiritual warrior. Be courageous. Don't be afraid. Things will not go the way that fear makes them seem. It's false expectations appearing real, my friends. So don't succumb to them. And do the right thing out of love. The universe will pay it back to you tenfold in all directions. I'll see you on the next one.